Welcome back to The Explainer. So, you're sitting at your desk trying to write an email summarizing what a client just told you, and suddenly you're totally stuck. If you've ever struggled to professionally report a conversation without sounding clumsy, well, you're in exactly the right place. Today, I'm taking on the role of your corporate communications trainer to help you master reported speech. Let's dive right in. Let's actually start with a pretty disastrous office email mistake. Look at this. He said the project was late. Yikes, right? It's crazy how just one tiny extra word, me, can instantly undermine your professional credibility. In a fast-paced workplace, grammatical missteps like this stick out like a sore thumb. So today, we're going to explore exactly why incorrectly using said with an object is such a massive trap, and more importantly, how to permanently banish it from your emails and meeting notes. To fix that, we need to understand what's actually happening under the hood. Notice the clear shift here between the two sides. On the left, we've got direct speech, literally quoting someone's exact words from, say, a casual water cooler chat. I am here. But over on the right, we have indirect reporting. David said he was here. This completely illustrates the core concept. Reported speech is a layer removed. You aren't using quotation marks anymore. Instead, you're professionally weaving their ideas into your formal reports using these color-coded structural shifts. Let's break those down. And that brings us to the absolute golden rule of reporting. Say versus tell. What's the actual difference? Well, tell is a transitive verb, and say is an intransitive verb. Okay, but what does that mean for your daily emails? Simply put, the crucial point is this. Tell requires a direct object. You have to tell someone. He told me that he was going to arrive early. Say, on the other hand, absolutely does not take a direct object. You just say the thing. He said that he was going to arrive early. Remember that terrible "he said me" quote from earlier? Yeah, it's always wrong. It has to be "he told me" or just "he said." Now, English wouldn't be English without a few tricky contexts, right? Let's look at how we handle non-speech situations. Notice how we always tell a story, tell a joke, tell a secret, or tell the truth. In all of these cases, information is being actively transmitted directly to an audience. But, and this is key, when we're reporting objective facts from a written news article, a formal document, or a video, we switch back to say. For example, the article said there were two major problems with the proposal. You wouldn't use tell there. Okay, let's talk about time travel, or the tense backshifting flowchart. When you're reporting on meeting notes, the event already happened in the past, right? So your verbs naturally take one step backward in time. Present simple drops back to past simple. I like ice cream becomes she said she liked ice cream. Present continuous drops to past continuous. And if it's already in the past simple, it shifts all the way back to the past perfect. So I bought a car becomes she said she had bought a car. It's actually a really logical flow backward in time. And guess what? That whole stepping back in time rule also applies to modal verbs, which is incredibly common when you're firing off follow-up project updates. Look at this brilliant shift. Can changes to could, and will changes to would. So if your coworker casually says, "I will see you later," you report it professionally as, "She said she would see me later." Or if they say, "I can speak perfect English," it smoothly becomes, "She said she could speak perfect English." Next up on our structural shift checklist, personal pronouns. You'll see here how they absolutely have to shift to the third person during conversion. Think about it. If your colleague says, "I am going to my friend's house," you can't just keep the I. You'd be talking about yourself. You have to change it to accurately report their status. He said that he was going. Likewise, we shifts to they, and my shifts to his or her. You're basically shifting the entire perspective from the original speaker directly over to yourself as the reporter. And just like the perspective shifts, the actual time and place references require a shift too. Use this visual infographic as a memory aid. It's totally crucial to remember that today becomes that day, yesterday becomes the day before, and tomorrow becomes the next day. Even place markers shift. Here moves to there, and this becomes that. If someone says, "I live here," you report it as, "He told me he lived there." It makes perfect sense because obviously you're no longer in that exact time or physical place. Right, but what if a client asks you a question? How do we handle that? Well, when you're reporting a simple yes or no question, like, "Do you like chocolate?" you don't have a handy question word like who or where to rely on. So instead, you absolutely must use if or whether. She asked me if I liked chocolate. And notice what else happened there? We shifted the sentence structure back into a standard positive statement. The word do is completely dropped, and the verb moves right into the past tense. Now, let's contrast a simple statement with an office command. This is a totally different beast. When someone gives a direct order, like your boss saying, sit down, or call the supplier, we completely drop the tense change. No backshifting here. Instead, we grab a reporting verb like told with a direct object and follow it straight up with the infinitive form using to. So sit down just becomes she told me to sit down. Easy, right? And for a negative command like don't smoke, it simply becomes he told us not to smoke. Quick pro tip, if you want to instantly elevate your workplace emails, start using a diverse world of reporting verbs. You definitely don't have to just parrot said and told over and over again. Look at these great alternatives. Promised, claimed, explained, noted, agreed, mentioned. Swapping in a varied vocabulary makes sure formal reports sound incredibly polished. Instead of the boring, he said he would do it, try something powerful, like he promised he would do it. All right, enough theory, it's time to test your knowledge. I'm actually going to pause here for a second. I want you to predict the correct reported version of this direct quote out loud before I show you the answer. Ready? Imagine a colleague gives you this office feedback. I love the new design. How exactly would you report this to your team? Go ahead, say it out loud. Okay, let's see how you did. Here is the corrected solution. He said he loved the new design. Or, of course, she said she loved the new design. Notice those color-coded highlights on the screen? The direct pronoun I correctly shifted to the third person he, and that present tense verb love took a step back to the past tense loved. Awesome job if you nailed that. Let's try another one. For our second interactive practice, we've got a classic meeting action item. Convert this direct question into professional reported speech. Will you send the email today? Think about the rules we just covered and say your answer out loud. Let's check the solution for that meeting action item. She asked if I would send the email that day. Did you catch all the shifts? Because it was a yes or no question, we absolutely had to introduce the clause using if. Then the modal verb will stepped back to would. And finally, that time marker today correctly shifted to that day. There's a lot going on there, but once you see the pattern, it's pretty straightforward. All right, final practice. Try transforming this direct office command from your manager into reported speech. The boss says, leave the door unlocked. Remember the special rule for commands? Give it a try. Boom, as you can see, here is the manager's command solution. The manager told me to leave the door unlocked. Because it's a direct command, we used the reporting verb told along with our object, me, and followed it directly with the infinitive, to leave. No complex tense backshifting required whatsoever. We are almost done. Before we wrap up, let's do a really quick summary checklist of the absolute most common workplace errors you need to avoid. First, that dreaded mistake, using said with a direct object. Never, ever say, he said me. It is always, he told me. Second, remember to backshift your tenses when your reporting verb is in the past. Third, ensure you shift your pronouns, time, and place markers so your context actually makes sense. And lastly, turn those questions back into standard positive statements using if or whether. To make this super easy, go ahead and grab a screenshot of this final grammar cheat sheet. It perfectly summarizes all our essential say versus tell rules and quick tips in one printable style spot. Keep it handy the next time you're drafting up a meeting summary. Honestly, mastering reported speech is the absolute best way to transition from sounding casually conversational to being a highly polished corporate professional. So here's my final thought for you to chew on. Which of these specific reporting rules are you going to implement in your very next office email? Think about it. Thanks for hanging out with me for this explainer, and happy learning.